This is the SpaceX Starship. It's big, it's powerful, and it might just be the first rocket to send people from Earth all the way to Mars. But don't picture a shiny cruise liner through the stars, because the real trip will be long, dangerous, cramped, and yes, kind of gross. So what's it actually going to be like living inside a Starship on the way to Mars? Let's find out. When Starship was first revealed, the entire upper half of the rocket was pitched as open crew space, 1,000 cubic meters of sweeping decks, and giant windows. That dream ended pretty quickly once SpaceX started test flights. The early prototypes flipped, crashed, and exploded, and through all that trial and error came one major change, moving the landing fuel tanks up into the nose cone. It worked, the landings improved, but it also killed the idea of a big panoramic window. Then came the flights to space and back. SpaceX had to make the rocket bigger, leading to Starship V2. It's taller on the outside, but smaller inside because the fuel tanks stretch into the payload bay. The result, roughly 500 cubic meters of living volume. That's half the original promise, but still decent. For comparison, the International Space Station has about 907 people live there year-round, sometimes 13. So, how many could survive inside a Starship headed for Mars? NASA studied this in 2013. They calculated that each person would need at least 25 cubic meters for a 2.5-year mission. That's basically the volume of a shipping container. By that math, Starship V2 could support 20 people maximum before things got mentally unbearable. But once you carve in walls, decks, ladders, airlocks, and storage, the space shrinks fast. Realistically, maybe 6 people could manage. Not exactly a Mars colony. That's why we get the Starship V3, the long Starship, stretched up to 69 meters tall. Bigger tanks, heavier mass, but finally back to around 1,000 cubic meters for the interior. Almost back to the original idea. So, what does life actually look like inside this version? Start at the bottom. Level 1 is the airlock and cargo bay. Think suits, tools, sample containers, and a simple lift to lower astronauts down. Not sci-fi elegant, more like a shark cage. Level 2 is all about storage, water tanks, oxygen systems, HVAC, food, and waste. Heavy stuff low, which keeps the ship stable. Level 3, hygiene. And this gets rough. Forget hot showers. You'll clean yourself with wipes and wash your hair with dry powder. Water is too precious. Without recycling, you'd need 27 tons of it for 10 people on a 2.5-year journey. With recycling, you can cut that to just 3 tons. The ISS hits a 93% recovery rate, which means yes, astronauts drink recycled urine. And waste solids are dehydrated and stored. Space is glamorous, right? The same level also holds the gym. 2 hours of daily exercise per person, treadmills with T-downs, stationary bikes, and a resistance machine. Smelly, but necessary. Level 4, crew cabins. Roughly 600 cubic meters left for humans, which is like a large family home of about 2,300 square feet. On paper, NASA says you could squeeze into dozen people. Realistically, about 20 bunks fit, lined up in rectangular pods against the walls. Level 5, the mess hall. Meals won't be fancy rehydrated food in pouches. Astronaut pizza is a thing, though. Maybe even some small hydroponics for lettuce and greens. By level 6, it's time to break the monotony with a lounge. A wide open deck for windows, screens, VR headsets, and some group sanity. Level 7 works as the lab and office floor. People need projects, research, and logs to stay busy. An idle brain in space is not good news for anyone. And finally, level 8 at the very top, the flight deck. This is where the crew straps in for launch and landing, and where the serious flying happens. Upside, being higher in the ship means avoiding the worst of that wild belly flop maneuver. And once we actually touch down on Mars, Starship doesn't just fly us there, it becomes the habitat until permanent bases exist. The rocket itself is home. And after everything, it got us closer to that early dream Elon talked about. So yes, the trip will be cramped, stinky, and psychologically brutal. But it's also the first realistic shot humanity has at becoming a multiplanetary species. And if that means drinking recycled pee, and sharing bunk beds with 19 other people for 3 years, well, welcome to the price of progress.